when we think to those back-to-back national championships for Georgia, there may be a player no higher on the list of beloved Georgia Bulldogs than Chatsworth, Georgia's own Ladd McConkey.
You gotta like it, he's the lowest rated recruit in that class. A lot of people said it was a wasted scholarship. He actually redshirted. The first time he dressed for a game, they flew to Missouri. He never even got in the game. He froze on the sidelines. All his family's there. Everybody watching on TV. Ladd once told me that was his favorite game. I said, what do you mean? He said, after that game, I was so motivated to work. That was never going to happen again. Not the answer that I expected from Ladd about his favorite game back then. He said he has a different favorite game now, though.
And he's doing his thing with the LA Chargers. His game has translated to the next level like not a lot of people thought he would. He sat down with Mike Griffith to talk about Georgia and talk about being a pro football player.
So I click on my ESPN, and there's a fantasy football update on Ladd McConkey. Oh, my God, the ankle. I guess I'll start there, Ladd. You're out there to win football games. I've heard Brock Bowers talk about it. It kills him because he never wants to disappoint anybody. But this whole fantasy football part of it for NFL players, what's that experience been like for you, especially with all the people you got, I guess, back home and friends that, I guess your dad told me everybody fights to pick you in the league around there. What's the dynamic like? I mean, do you ever look at that and just shake your head?
Definitely shake my head. There'll be people out there that live, breathe, and die by fantasy football. But I always tell everybody, all my fantasy owners, I'm giving you my all. You'll get my all every week. So I'm doing my best out there. I want to score as many points. I want to score more points for myself than y'all do. So.
Right. Yeah, no doubt about it. It is a lot of fun, and you are a fun player to watch. I guess that's one thing that I don't want to say I'm surprised. I guess I would ask you though. I mean, you were dynamic at Georgia, but a lot of people say, "Oh, there's a lot of fast guys in the NFL." Did you surprise yourself a little bit? I mean, I know you're a fast guy on the clock, but watching you run around NFL guys like you did in college, it doesn't seem to be much different.
I don't know if surprise myself is the right word. I believed I knew I could do this. But a big thing is just like trusting your speed, like hitting it, playing fast. There's a lot of fast guys, but if you're not playing fast on the field, then you're not using your skill set. So I just try to play fast, react on the fly, and I think that's when I'm playing my best football.
What's it been like playing for Coach Harbaugh? I mean, that's a guy that you competed against in college, and from the outside in, he strikes a lot of people. He's an interesting guy. Played the game. Any similarities to Kirby Smart? I guess other than them having the same birth date.
They have the same birthday?
They do. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't I didn't even realize that. That's a bad player by me. But no, I feel like they're really different in a lot of ways. But I guess the similarities is like they both find a way to win, and they both know how to get their guys to buy in and really like dive into the culture and what the teams are about. So different in their own ways and how they get that to happen. But they're both winners. They're both competitors, and they both do a good job of bringing the team together.
We know the NFL season is longer than the college season. We also know that Georgia is reputed to have the toughest practices in college, according to a lot of NFL scouts. What's it like trying to manage your body and your health in the NFL versus Georgia's? How would you compare the two?
I remember last year we had like our bye week, week 5. I was sitting there thinking, I was like, okay, we just played 4 games bye week. I was like, now I have a and now I have a college season, so it's like a lot more games, but get a little more. You get an off day here and there in the NFL, and they do a really good job like taking care of your body. We only have there's only 53 guys that can play on Sundays on the active or whatever. So it's like you don't have 120. You don't have the scout team over there. You don't have just the extra body. So there's a little element to that too.
And what about this? I mean, it's an obligatory quote, but it's always important when talking to former Georgia players to ask them about the preparation and when you leave Georgia, in terms of being ready for the NFL. What are some things that you noted that you that you were already on par with as an NFL player coming out of Georgia, and what were things you had to learn?
Yeah, they prepared me in a ton of ways, and I think one of the biggest thing is everything matters in the way that Georgia approached meetings, the way that Georgia approached walkthroughs in the NFL, you might rep something, on a Tuesday or Wednesday, and you don't rep it again until Sunday. So those walkthrough reps are game reps. They matter, and I think we kind of approached it like that at Georgia too. So just being able to understand that and been honed in on that and locked in on that, I think that's one of the biggest things that they did for me going to this next level.
If there's anything that you know now, as an NFL player, an NFL star, that you could tell the young Ladd McConkey,
Oh
what advice or what message would you give that young guy?
man, that's tough. I feel like mm, don't I would say don't let like a single thing, whether it be good or bad, like don't hold. I don't know. Don't hold on to that. Like sometimes I get caught up on it. If I was at Georgia, I had a bad game, had a bad play, then you start looking later and like, well, how is this going to affect me later? Just be in the moment, be present, be where your feet are. And if you just put your head down and grind, it's all going to work out just how it's supposed to.
You got a new favorite game yet? Last time we talked favorite game, it was a game in Missouri you froze and didn't play in. Do you got an NFL game that's replaced that, or are you still holding on to that moment
Uh,
in Missouri?
I mean, that was I joke because it was my first game traveling was an awesome game, but I was freezing to death. It was also terrible, but that was a cool one. Um, Man, I don't know. I guess college, like when we played Tennessee, that was a cool one. That was probably one of my favorite ones in Sanford. They were number one, we were number three. Came in and whooped them. That's one of my favorite ones for sure.
And remember, us media guys had you number one, lad. It was that college football playoff committee that had Tennessee number one. The
No
eight
doubt.
the media guys had that. So you grew up a Tennessee fan. You played at Georgia. Do you still pull for the Vols a little bit, or is it just Georgia all the way? That orange
Nah,
completely.
absolutely not. No, I'm Georgia through and through.
Okay. I didn't know. I didn't know if maybe you
Yeah,
forgiven
no,
them.
no, 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 no more, no more. Done with that.
How much do you get to watch Georgia? And if you have gotten to see this year's team a little bit, I guess they got a guy in Gunner Stockton that, I was one of those guys that underestimated him myself. How much do you get to see, and what do you think about this year's Georgia team from what you've seen and watched?
Whether I'm have my phone right there in between meetings and trying to sneak the score in or ask somebody what the score is when we're having a walkthrough or something. The time difference kind of messes with me. But no, they've been playing good. I feel like they just found a way to win. Not always started off the hottest, but when it comes down to crunch time, they just found a way to win. And Gunner's leading those guys, and you can tell those guys are really rallying behind him and believe in him and trust him, and really those guys just love each other. So you can see it how they play and how excited they get for one another. So I'm riding with the dogs the whole way this year.
Any Gunner anecdotes? I mean, I guess your time with him would have been short, but you probably remember when he came in. He would have been, I think he'd have been a four stringer back then, right?
Yeah, I played Gunner in high school.
Oh,
His when he was freshman and sophomore, I was junior senior. I won't tell you how the score went for my sake, but that was that was my first impression of him. I knew he was a stud back then.
I know last year, I think I read somewhere that you and Brock were in a little bit of a competition for yardage. I think you ended up having more yardage in the same amount of games, if I remember. He set all these records and everything, but do you still stay in touch with Brock, and what's that friendship like if you do?
Yeah, for sure. Season's hard. You don't get to talk every day and talk too much, but just check in on them. It's always good getting to see them. When we play them and when they come here, when we go there. But yeah, just check up on him, make sure he's doing good. And Brock's an awesome guy.
It seems like every game there's a Georgia guy or two or three or six, in the case of the
Yeah.
Packers and the Eagles, on the other team. Is that it? Do you make sure to talk to those guys after every game? Is that a definite seek out? Is there a fraternity building between all the Georgia guys in the NFL? What's that like? What can you tell me about those relationships?
Yeah, 100%. Whether it's pregame, like this past game, I got to see Broad and Darnell, so that was awesome. And then whether it's like trading, switching jerseys after the game, or just like catching up with them, saying what's up, how proud I am of them, that I love them. It's always good to see those guys because we had some battles on the field, team runs, bloody Tuesdays. We've been through some stuff together. So it was always good to catch up with them.
And we want to thank our friends at Dr. Pepper. They are huge sponsors of what we do at DawgNation. They're also huge fans of college football. Dr. Pepper helping get that interview with Ladd McConkey to you today. I want to thank them. They had the Pepper Portal set up before the Georgia and Texas game. It was a two-way screen between Athens and Austin where fans got to talk a little smack. I think the Dogs got the best of it at the end of the day.
I would say that they did. And I think Ladd McConkey for doing interviews like that. I told whoever was doing the interview, I said, I'll tell you what, you couldn't have picked a better spokesperson to represent the University of Georgia than Ladd McConkey.
It was kind of funny at the beginning of that. He gets on, he sees you, he goes, oh, it's Mike Griffith again.
That's
Right. He's having to make the rounds. There's a little comfort in seeing your face.
I said, oh my gosh, 10 minutes with the great Ladd McConkey, And, it's funny because we do go back, and there was a time when Ladd was that guy just chipping away, trying to get on the field, and it just seemed like overnight, all of a sudden, he was unstoppable. All of a sudden, he was shaking everybody. I'll never forget when Kirby Smart said there's not one player that can replace Brock Bowers when Brock went out, and Ladd goes for about 160 yards, almost as if Ladd was like, oh, yeah, Coach, I'll show you. I'll show you what I can do with Brock out. So those two together, though, what a 1-2 punch and what a dimension for Georgia. Just wish they'd have been a little bit healthier in that 2023 SEC title game. If those guys were 100%, Dogs still be – they probably would have three-peated.